Hi, I'm Dave Vickers and welcome to the Photo Show. We're going to take a look at using split toning within Lightroom today. So I've opened up an image here. It was an image we were working on a previous episode where we were showing the adjustment brush. But I think this image will work really well for demonstrating how the split toning works in Lightroom. What I'm going to do first off, I'm going to close down our left-hand panel here just by clicking the arrow on the side there. So we're just concentrating on the image now. And we're going to be using our right-hand panel here in the Develop module so we can start to add split toning to this image. So if we scroll down, under the HSL we have split toning. We'll open that up. And you can see now within split toning we've got two sliders at the top under highlights, two sliders at the bottom under shadows, and a slider in the middle that says balance. So we'll look at all these individually and show you just how you can use them to have effects on your images. Now split toning, as the name suggests, is going to allow you to split the tones between two areas of your image. And as we can see here, the first one up here is highlights. So if we up the saturation, you can see in the image now that the highlights in the image are being affected with a pinky kind of hue colour. You can see the shadows and in the darker areas have remained the same. If I bring the highlights, the saturation back down, and if we watch in the darker areas around the suit, as I bring the saturation up, they're not being affected. It's only the highlights in the image that are being affected. If we now come to the hue slider, we can now start to scroll through various hues just to affect those highlights. Now we've got another option. We also have a little colour window here. If we click that, that's going to open up our colour swatch, and we can change the hue again by using the little dropper and clicking and dragging through the various tones and hues that we have available. So I think what we're going to do, we're going to pick an orangey yellow for our highlight. So we're going to leave it there. You can see now with the saturation, if we bring the saturation up, that's going to make that yellow colour stronger. If we bring it down, it's going to make it weaker. So we'll leave it about midway. And we can turn the split toning on and off by using the little switch at the top here. So if we turn it off, that's before we applied the yellow to the highlights. If we turn it back on, we've applied the yellow to the highlights. Okay, so let's move down to the shadow area now. Now we're going to do exactly the same, but we're going to choose a different hue or colour for the shadows. And because we've picked the yellow for the highlights, we're going to choose a blue colour for the shadows. So I think somewhere around there is looking good. We'll shut that down. So now you can see that we have effectively created a split tone image. We have a yellow affecting our highlights and we have a blue affecting our shadows, and we can now adjust the saturation for either of those. If we want the blue to be more saturated, we can bring that up. If we want it to be less saturated, we can bring it down. So let's bring the saturation up on both of those for the time being. So there we go. What we've done is we've created a split tone image. Our highlights are being affected by the yellow and our shadows are being affected by the blue. If we turn it on and off now, that was where our image started originally. That's with the split toning effect. So now we've got that set, we might want it to be balanced differently. At the moment, the balance is on 0, so therefore the highlights and the shadows are having the same amount of effect. But we can now adjust that. If we pull that to the right, the balance is now going more towards the highlights, and we'll bring out the yellow in the highlights more than the blue in the shadows. If we go the opposite way and pull it to the left, it's now going more towards the blue in the shadows than the yellow in the highlights. So if we find a nice balance where we like it, I think I like more blues in the shadows than I like yellows in the highlights. So there we go. I think we've created quite a cinematic kind of look now by using the blues in the shadows and the yellows in the highlights. Let's turn that on and off. So that was where we started, and that's where we've got to by using the split toning. But we don't have to leave it there. If we want to adjust it now, we can now start to adjust. If we wanted to change the color that we've got in the highlights, we can go through the hue wheel and adjust the colors there. Let's come back to our yellow highlight there. And again, you can do exactly the same with the shadows. You could adjust those individually and adjust the color that you have in the shadows. But I think I like it like that. So that's a really quick tutorial on how you can use the split toning to have an effect on your image. We'll scroll through it again. So that's where our image started before we added the split toning. And adding the split toning now has given it quite a filmic, cinematic kind of look. So I hope that's helpful. That's a really quick tutorial on how to use split toning. For now, I'm Dave Vickers. This is The Photo Show. Thanks for watching. See you next time.